Experts in the Wire is sponsored by BuzzSumo. Stick around to hear how you can get 30% off 3 months of BuzzSumo. Okay, let's get into today's show.
This is the Digital Marketing Experts Podcast episode. No, why am I trying to sound like a radio announcer?
Experts in the Wire, episode 97. Marty Weintraub. Hey everyone, Dan here. Just a quick message before I hit play on Marty's awesome interview. We've been on the air for over 2.5 years and we're about to hit almost 100 episodes. And while I do want to announce something maybe exciting around that in the next couple weeks, I wanted to let you know that in that time, we've had very little technical difficulties here, but on this episode and the next few following this one of my sound recording devices failed on me and I had to move back to Skype call recorder and just a USB headset. So you might notice a slight difference in the sound quality in this show and the next couple episodes. I promise it will be back to normal very soon, maybe on episode 100. But for today, enjoy this interview with Marty Weintraub. Hey everyone, welcome to episode 97 of Experts in the Wire. I'm very excited to have Marty Weintraub on the wire with us today. And I'm really kind of pumped to talk about a lot of different topics, psychographics and organic search, how that might work with paid ads, how people can do paid ads in general better, some agency questions, some questions from listeners on Twitter. So, Marty, let's jump right in. First of all, how are you today?
Amazing. Thank you. I'm just back in our Duluth office after a whole bunch of traveling.
I want to ask first, you and I share something in common. We both went to music school. You went to Berklee College of Music. As I was telling you, I went to University of New Hampshire for music. I'm curious, how has music and maybe music theory, composition, audio engineering, how has any of that helped you with marketing?
Well, first, hello, and thank you for having me on your storied podcast, episode, 97?
97.
That's pretty cool. 97 episodes of a great business podcast. Music and SEO, and search and marketing. Okay, well, first, the feeling that you get when you wake up and your record company tells you that you sold 30,000 CDs that month and it's just trending up like a hockey stick. That's pretty much the same feeling as publishing something in your blog and watching real-time analytics and then just watching that thing light up. In some ways, it's even more satisfying. And also in some ways, it dovetails beautifully. Music is linear and non-linear, meaning you'll work on a section or you'll work on things in a row or a section in a row, and then you'll rearrange sections. Also, music is highly collaborative, where it kind of doesn't matter who thinks of what when you're writing a song. It just doesn't matter. It's our band. It's a co-write if we're both contributing. Marketing is all those things. It's linear and non-linear. It's things that's right in an order, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And it's also working on 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 within 7, and then working on 3 and then switching them, etc. So being a musician is a perfect setup creatively and collaboratively for being a marketer.
I love that. And I saw that you kind of shifted from music. You did music professionally, then into marketing. Was that shift for you? Was that intentional or organic, and slow or sudden?
It was slow and it was incredibly elegant because I love music so much and I love playing music so much that it would have needed to be such a thing. Because from the time I was old enough to beat pencils on the ottoman to Lawrence Welk until I was well into my 40s, I just knew that the only identity that I had was as a musician. The shift was digital recording in the early 80s, tools like the original audio media card and the Audio Media 2 card and first versions of Pro Tools. And so I just became very interested in the technical assembly of music with early digital tools. And then I got hired to do a bunch of jingles. And also with early digital technology came the ability to interview somebody for 2 hours, and then instead of assembly editing it or cutting it with tape, like a razor blade, I could just move it all around. So I got that was the first real taste of being nonlinear to match the creative process. And then in my travels, I ended up just being invited to the larger creative table by advertising mentors who had hired me to make music. It was amazing. So creativity was the leap. And then, of course, with my technical crazy, I was really into tech stuff. I think in like 1985, I made $30,000 selling $70 one-off CDs for advertising agencies.
Wow.
And then the next year, when I heard that there was going to be one coming out for $800 by Hewlett Packard, and for $400 the next year, it's going to be in every computer like in the world, I made another 25 grand teaching the agencies which one to buy and how to run them.
Yeah.
And so that just began the progression of creativity, music, technology, creativity, technology, because music is a channel, not a strategy, and an art form, not a channel.
Right.
And so, some of the coolest SEOs I know in the whole world are musicians and photographers.
Yep. I feel like it's almost no different when I'm sitting in front of Screaming Frog Log File Analyzer or my audio engineering software. It's all the same brain functions that are happening. You're thinking about the different elements and how they fit together, and it's a whole ecosystem.
What software do you use? What software do you use?
I won't bore the listeners too much, but I use Reason. Propeller Reason.
I love Reason.
Yeah, and we can chat more audio engineering later on, Marty, if you'd like. But
sorry, I couldn't help myself.
I agree. So I'm going to put a picture in the show notes. You have something on your LinkedIn profile, which is very, very entertaining, which is what Marty used to look like back in your music days. If anyone wants to see that, and of course, all the links to the show notes we're going to talk about, it's at evolvingseo.com/wire. Marty,
I was so pretty.
Let's chat about AimClear just for a moment. So this is your agency. Can you just kind of sum up what AimClear does?
AimClear has evolved to be the Tao of full brand creative build and performance marketing. And we do performance branding, where if we're branding a company, it's because we know that we're going to dilute the cost of the entire CPA system by creating organic search for brand terms and brand terms with extra words.
Okay, let's pause there for a second. Can you break that down a little bit? You're going to dilute the CPA. So break that down.
Well, first, raise your hand, podcast listeners, if you do not want more brand search. Right? Nobody's hand went up because brand search is lakefront property.
Right.
With brand search, you can dominate the SEO. You can keep other people from buying ads that say that word. Your brand term is protected with an R or a T or other protection or a copyright.
Yeah.
And also brand terms, keywords, even though other companies may bid on them competitively, it's never going to make it a $9 keyword.
Right.
Brand terms are always going to be the cheapest keywords or among the cheapest keywords in your portfolio of commercial terms.
Right.
You'll get less expensive keywords, but they're not commercial ones. But your brand terms are dead-eye, commerce, shopping terms that are defensible and inexpensive.
It's like Rand pointed out at a conference, Airbnb is now people search like, instead of searching bed and breakfast, they search Airbnb New York.
Right. So if you're doing the branding for Airbnb, then you don't just want searches for Airbnb Dallas. You want searches for Airbnb Dallas Uptown. Speaking of Airbnb, one of our most favorite things that we've ever had anything to do with was bringing Airbnb to paid social for a couple of years.
Oh, wow. And that was totally unintended coincidence.
I know, and I wouldn't have said anything. Right now, one of our really huge clients is a very disruptive ride-sharing service.
I think I get the hint there. It's probably an uber cool client to work with. Let's go back down the path of describing AimClear. So, like how many people are in the agency, and what are the different roles and functions of the people within your agency?
It's a moving target, like any really good business. We're a 20-person shop. And we've won Best Large Integrated Agency at the U.S. Search Awards for the last 2 years in a row. Oh, wow. And this year we'll be gunning for Best Small Agency, Best best small integrated agency. What's ironic is that we're almost 4x more profitable and way more effective marketers. Anyhow, what AimClear is 20 people. It's myself, the CEO, and someone who's a paralegal function who owns all our contract snippets and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And then a bunch of hybrid practitioners with between 5 and 35 years of experience, somehow melding digital performance, public relations, organic search, organic social, ad ops, data. And we have a really breathtaking suite of middleware that anticipated this generation of marketing. So we want to measure a branding campaign by how much AdWords inventory shows up for organic search, then we just can pull that.
Oh, wow.
Our reporting system is completely liquid. If you want to drive bidding for Flonase nasal decongestant, they're not our client. I'm using it as an example.
Yeah.
And you want to base that on predictive pollen count, then we'll scrape the pollen count and drive bidding.
Wow.
Like anyway, we've been thinking about data here, crossing boundaries of paid and organic. We're creative, and targeting is the central part. And then to the greatest extent, jurisdictions will allow us to gather data because GDPR blows a hole in all that. AimClear is the perfect alien, acid for blood, because the way that we've always thought about marketing is the way the internet turned out to be.
I like that. And that segues nicely in kind of one of the first topics I wanted to dive into more deeply, which is SEO, paid social, paid channels, and sort of how this strange ecosystem works together. And I wanted to start by asking, you summed up really well at Affiliate Summit 2017, where I watched your presentation. You talked about the difference between psychographic targeting versus keywords. I wonder if we could start there and if we could dive into those differences.
That's really a great question. Okay, well, first, let's preface that by saying that if I target you because you're likely to buy a mortgage online and you're a veteran, that's probably the same human that's searching for VA mortgage Pittsburgh, right, or wherever, you know what I mean? Like it's the same humans, and it's just how you get to them. Mm-hmm. And that's so powerful, that it's so powerful to keep that in mind. So zooming out, the first use of social targeting, social psychographic targeting, as opposed to keyword targeting, would be if you have an early adopter sort of product. Like nobody knew how to search for ride-sharing app 9 years ago or whatever. Right. So if you were trying to market that company, what were your options? Taxis, where you had to educate in a 25-character headline, and besides, people, I mean, that's not really yet where that was. Like, what do? You do. How do you market that? Whereas we could go into Facebook at that time and find the characteristics of someone who might do that. They're business travelers and they're not at home. They have plenty of money. They use other disruptive apps or interests that are disruptive. Mm-hmm. Or levels of rebellion or early adopter. So the first best use of psychographics is if there's no search. Yeah. People don't know how to search.
It's a new market. They don't know what to call it. They don't even know it exists.
Right. So and forever, social psychographics will be that. Another reason... the difference between search keywords and psychographics is search is what we're asking for, and psychographics is who they are. Right. Psychographics are interests, affinities, proclivities, biases, picadillos, sexy stuff, freaky shit, occupational, where you work, what your title is, how long, like LinkedIn kind of subdivision, financial, domestic, cultural, illnesses, anything you can think of, academia. And so the question is how do you come at that? I mean, am I selling minivans to pregnant people, or are we selling pizza to people that like weed in London at halftime of the soccer match? Like, right. What are we doing with who? And also it all really works together in amazing ways. So Psychographics are who you are, and search is what you ask for. But here's the riddle. I'll ask you and all these SEOs in your audience. If my keyword is Chevy Camaro, which is arguably a shitty keyword. Like if you look in SEMrush or SpyFu, it costs about half as much, and there's a lot of searches for it.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas if you look at Chevy Camaro dealer or 2018 Camaro prices, that's a much different level of shopping intent, right? But if I take the shitty keyword, Chevy Camaro, that people aren't going to buy, or not as much, because it's not going to convert. If it was cheap, you'd use it for branding, but it's not. And you compare that to people in Facebook who like each generation of the Chevy Camaro, right? And you go, well, which one's better inventory if I have to sell a Camaro? And the answer is the shitty keyword.
Yep.
Because they're asking for it right now.
Yep.
Like that's what they're asking for.
Yeah.
That said, if I take Chevy Camaro in Facebook and I layer on a behavior that says they're going to buy a sports car soon.
Yes.
Yep, that's what they're going to do. They're going to buy a sports car soon. And then I add another layer. They make more than 100K, but not more than 200. Because if they make more than 200, maybe the data says Camaro is not what they're going to do, even if they're interested in.
Yeah.
Now I compare that, like the shitty keyword versus the shitty interest with a purchase behavior, dead-eye, qualifier. Which one's better inventory now? And I'm going to sell cars with it. Particularly if I put 2018 Camaro prices in the words in the video of the Facebook post, and also other conversion keywords in the update field, because ultimately it's understanding that if you're after the purchase behavior in social and you lace it with keywords, that's kind of the punchline of all this stuff, is use keywords in your social creative.
Interesting. That's a little backwards from something I was going to ask in a moment. Let's circle back to that. One thread that I don't want to make sure that I skip, that I want to make sure I don't skip, is I get asked all the time from clients, hey, we want to target, for example, e-commerce website owners. How do we know the people searching are e-commerce website owners? Can't we target those demographics? Because then they'll look at a piece of content that's like, or a topic that's influencer marketing strategies. And it's like, well, if you just look at that keyword, how do you know who those people are searching the keyword? And I know you've done a lot of work with this. So what are some ways us as SEOs can figure out who are the people that are searching particular keywords?
That's really great. Well, first, understand that the answer to that question represents the greatest tech regression in the history of any industry ever because of GDPR and Cambridge Analytica. Because we used to be able to just take an email list of customers and then analyze it by every Facebook targeting attribute, which was unbelievable. It was so powerful. And that just went away. Like, that's just all gone. And you can still do that. The short answer to your question is Facebook isn't the tool you want to use to do that. You want to use DoubleClick or the Trade Desk or a DMP that has a shitload of partner inventory.
And what's
like DataLot. DMP is like it's a display network, a digital media platform.
Right.
Examples would be Blue Kai, DoubleClick, the Trade Desk. That's an entirely different network, and they still have the inventory and the ability to reverse engineer a pixel according to display inventory. So the short answer is write a check, and you could do it somewhere else with lots of data.
Yeah.
You could still do it in America, not in Europe, in a few different ways. The first way is the keyword is Nikon binoculars deal, or it's an organic page that you just know is ballin' for Nikon binoculars deal or coupon or store or sale or one of your very strong SEO clarifier words. And so you have this at scale, and it costs you a lot for SEO, or the click costs $6, and you have like a high conversion rate, like maybe 8% on the page, and you go, okay, I'm going to retarget that. So you retarget into Facebook, but you don't retarget everyone. You retarget only the one. You add Facebook filters that make it only retargeting people who like outdoor sporting equipment, 1,000 geeky species of birds, or Audubon Society. And the retargeting ad in Facebook says incredible birding binoculars deal, and it's got a big red cardinal. So we've always accomplished that in hops. Theoretically, if you start with the page or the AdWords, click to that page, and then you you build out a cookie pool, a Facebook cookie pool with a pixel, and then you go into Facebook and retarget them and filter it again and drive them to your site. Theoretically, you could start another cookie pool on the site and concatenate it and be actually building a persona. And at scale, we've been doing that for years, where we have a lot of scale, and you could still do that in America. But GDPR has made that tactic questionably legal in Europe. Most websites won't do that because they won't have the scale. But here's a trick. Say you only have like 12,000 clicks to that page, and you want to play this game where you retarget and filter it. Run a lookalike audience on it, and then add precision filters to that, and the results can be astonishing. And zooming all the way out, even if you simply retarget it wide open into Facebook, but you put the keyword on it, your conversion, literally, if you compare putting the keyword on the creative from an organic page or an AdWords click and retargeting versus the image without the keyword, conversion goes up and down in almost every case.
Wow. So you're putting that. You said that a minute ago too, and so you're putting the search keyword on the ad because you're showing the user, you're showing the target demographic the keyword that they would have looked for. And it's funny, Marty,
or the one they just did, or the one they just searched for.
Right. That's really clever. And it's funny as you're saying all this, because I'm literally picturing in my head, back to the audio engineering, I'm picturing the filters, and I'm picturing duplicating a track and putting it down here. When you said, look, like all the same brain functions are firing.
Yes.
This is really fascinating stuff. I want to ask about something that you said in another presentation. It's a phrase, and I wanted you to just pick this apart a little bit. You said psychographic influencer distribution against PR and SEO. And you said that, and my brain went, okay, I think that's important. So what is that exactly? And let's dive into that.
Well, here's an old ancient digital marketing riddle, my son, grasshopper. Here's the ancient marketing riddle. If the journalist for the Wall Street Journal sees your content from an amplified tweet, are the links that you get and the interview in the Wall Street Journal fake?
Right.
Here's another question. Was the tweet SEO, or was the ad spend?
Right. Yeah, and I think I get that it's a rhetorical, philosophical question, but I'm actually answering
Damn straight it is.
Yeah.
Damn straight it is.
In my head, I'm saying the input was paid, but the output's SEO, right? The input is you pay for the tweet to get the visibility, and then the result is a link.
It's so funny. No paid links, but you could pay for people to see your shit and get links.
Sure.
That's just fine. Like, for years, we were able to build these amazing lists. Everybody who works for a top 25 newspaper by circulation or revenue, everyone who's a columnist or a correspondent or a journalist or a morning show host or an assignment desk editor or a city desk editor or a contributing writer, or there are about 300 job titles. There are about 300 job titles, and we could do it including at the publications in Facebook for years. And we made a meal of that by just running magnanimous editorial calendar distribution to those writers. Results in interviews, links, placed articles, citations, conference appearances, community relations.
And to what scale? So, to sum up, you're paying for the exposure in front of the right people at the right publications. How are you attributing that ROI, or are you how much does it cost? what are the inputs and outputs in terms of budgetary things in those situations?
It's really inexpensive because it's micro audiences, and you need to it's not attributable by normal sorts of ways. Like once we spent millions of dollars in Europe promoting an event for a company, and then we just made a spreadsheet for the buzz for that content that had hundreds of lines with lines like Guardian UK or 36 mid-level bloggers in a niche, right? And then so you go, okay, well the content, we spent a lot on this content. It was unbelievable. It was so unbelievable that it warranted a full-on PR event support. Mm-hmm. So you go, how much of that was going to happen if you didn't run the PR? And the answer is some of it, and not close to all of it. Also, it's particularly powerful to note that if you have something buzzing organically in like a silo, you can blow it out of the silo with clever promotion. Here's an interesting thing. In the world of organic, especially social, there are seldom false positives. In other words, if you drop content into the SEO world and it starts to buzz, that's rarely an aberration. However, if you drop SEO into the universe and it doesn't do shit, there's plenty of false negatives because that's contingent on, I don't know, maybe our government is keeping children in warehouses in New York, so nobody gives a shit about your SEO today. Yeah. News cycle, environment, acts of God. And so how many people out there have ever had content that they really invested in their world, time or money or both? And you were so excited because you were sure that thing was going to go kapow, and you released it and it was just like sucking nothing. And you go, I just don't even understand. All the data said this should work. Whenever we invest a lot in content, we need to invest in top of funnel amplification for it, for SEO, because we know that in organic, there are often false negatives.
Right. So let me ask something else that might tie into some of what you were talking about earlier. In a slide from your presentation, somewhere, I forget which presentation, I'll put it in the show notes, but you had something that said, cause keyword search early, and then a quote that said, prevent people from searching by reminding them they are about to do it before they do it. And I'm wondering if you could pick that apart.
Okay, well, we'll do it simple and we'll do it more complex. The simple way is that, say you have something cyclical, like an insurance contract or a cell phone or something like that. A lot of things are kind of hard to sell and utterly dependent on search because they're cyclical and you have no idea. They might be in month 1. You can't target everyone who has an iPhone 7 and try to sell them an iPhone 8 because you have no idea. That's why keywords cost what for those kind of words in AdWords. However, there's emergent data objects in some channels. Not so much in Facebook, a little bit in Twitter, not in LinkedIn, but in other data channels. And we used to have it more in Facebook, where data just says they're close to the end of a cycle. Like there is literally psychographic purchase data, and that's because so many companies sell data that that's organized somewhere. So if you take the keyword that someone's going to search for and you start leaning on them, in a month, like a couple of weeks before, a month before, whatever the data latency period you have is, we've seen that you can reduce the amount that people search for it by reminding them that they're going to search. That's super interesting, like to where if you're getting your ass kicked with SEO and pay-per-click, just make it so they don't search. Now the complicated answer.
So hold on one second though, but by leaning on them, do you mean running paid ads?
20-second videos with very, very short, small amounts of big words that are moving around with flashes.
Seriously?
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to. Can we use the iPhone example? Does that work in this example? Or so if I'm somebody, I just bought a new iPhone, but I had an iPhone 8 or something or 7, I don't remember, and if I start seeing these ads, that'll cause me to search less because what? Because I'm going to see the ad and then just
Well, hardly anybody ever wakes up, according to neuromarketing, hardly anybody ever wakes up in the morning and just thinks of all their shit first time they ever thought about it.
Right.
Like they've been somehow, there's some process in whatever person it is. And so if you have data that says they're nearing the cycle and you put the keyword they're going to search for in front of them, they'll click on it and go to your landing page.
Oh, so they're going to just click and go to your page, and then they don't need to search for anything because you've solved their problem. Interesting. So it's kind of like predictive. You predict the behavior and then you intercept it with an ad. I like that.
There's two ways to do it. Like, you don't even actually, if you have say you have unlimited money in the whole world.
Okay.
No, money's no problem, and you could just market to 140 million people in America who are over a certain age for your product. They're drivers. Or they're old enough to be drivers. I don't know what that number is, but say, and you just go, there's no targeting here. And starting today, every person in that 140 million list sees your video or your ad or whatever in Facebook or Twitter or anywhere, laced with keywords or with keywords 100 times over the course. And you don't care if you have any customers during that time where you're doing this. What's going to end up happening is that after a while, some people will start clicking on it because it'll be well branded. And then after a while, they'll search for it in Google. They'll search for your brand term when their cycle is up, if you've made a compelling case. So most companies can't quite afford to just target everyone in the world until they're sick of it. But they can pick the right million people or the right 150,000 people. So I'm talking about doing this in phase with when their cycles. Right. In reality, if you had time and budget, you don't need to mess with that.
Right.
And the ability to preempt search is contingent on either the amount of money you have or the quality of the data.
Right. Wow, that's fascinating stuff. I want to mention BuzzSumo just for a moment. Marty, I don't know if you use BuzzSumo. If you do, I'm going to give you the chance to maybe there's some tactic that you know of with them. But I did want to ask, because in BuzzSumo, which, by the way, if you go to buzzsumo.com, use the discount code DANSHURE, DANSHURE, you can get 30% off 3 months at BuzzSumo. You'll save like $75. It's a great deal. I know I love to use BuzzSumo for the question analyzer, which I can go and search forums by keyword. And this is a really powerful tool where they've got millions and millions of forum URLs that, if I want to search something about podcasting, which I've done, and I go to all the threads that people are asking stuff about podcasts and I answer them, and I notice my organic impressions are going up by people looking at those answers like in Quora or different forum sites. I know that's a great tactic for me and for clients. That I just had I gave some consulting today for somebody that wants to write content about like things to do in New York City. And I said, okay, great. You can blog post about that, but why don't you go to Quora and answer a bunch of those questions? It's a great way to get insight, just feet on the ground as far as what people are doing. So it's buzzsumo.com, 30% off 3 months with the code DANSHURE. Okay, Marty, I don't know. Do you use BuzzSumo at all, or any insights or strategies come to mind using forums when it comes to this stuff?
Nope. And also, I judge the EU and UK search awards, so I'd like to just say that I'm really well aware of BuzzSumo, and I shouldn't comment.
Okay, sounds good. Let's move on then. So
that's not to be judged in any way. Like, there's an amazing array of tools out there that do boutique-ish kind of really cool stuff, and I know that the BuzzSumo people are committed.
So, and you have to remain neutral, and I totally understand that. No problem. So one thing I want to ask, Marty, is have you tested at all if just running paid ads help your SEO? I've seen some things anecdotally and not so anecdotally. So about 2.5 years ago, I had a client running a lot of Facebook ads. They fired the Facebook guy. The next day, their ad shut off and their rankings dropped at the same time. So that was something that happened accidentally, of course.
Was it AdWords that got shut off or Facebook ads that got shut off?
Facebook ads.
So, and then their ranking in social went away?
No, their ranking in SEO dropped after that.
Okay, so they were running Facebook ads, and they had stronger SEO on Google.
Yep.
And then they turned off their Facebook ads, and then but not for the reasons that that one might immediately think. I doubt there's a connection. That's very strong inside of Google. That's about how much engagement there is in Facebook. What would our friend Marcus Tober or Rand say about that? Would they say that Facebook engagement affects SEO?
Well, what I would say would be the Facebook ads cause brand searches, which shows Google people are interested in that domain. And that might be one thing. That's one of my theories.
I think that I think that it's correlation and not causation, because if you're getting a whole bunch of Facebook ads cause Facebook engagement. We know that the engagement that you get from a well-targeted ad is as good or more virulent than organic Facebook. There is not much organic Facebook that is brand initiated now. However, the things that happen in the universe as a result of that engagement, brand search is one, rebroadcast in other channels is another, so I don't doubt that at scale, there's causation that could be noted for turning off Facebook ads vis-a-vis the engagement and organic prominence. And yeah.
What about the converse of that? Have you seen or tested anything by simply running Facebook ads or Instagram ads that having any cause in SEO performance?
Well, I'm not positive if it still works anymore, because if I were Google, I would shut that shit right off. Or Facebook might do it just to mess with Google. See if you can run Facebook ads to organic SERPs.
Yeah,
SERPs.
Yeah, I had heard about you doing that. Yeah,
because if you could, so there's probably straight up ways to corrupt it. I haven't been dark like that for a while.
Yeah,
but yes. We've been really successful at affecting SEO with the results of running Facebook and Twitter ads. There was an article in the Wall Street Journal a couple of years ago that was a writer that was working at Wall Street Journal. We ran content to him over and over about targeting journalists with Facebook ads. And then when we did it in Marketing Land as a sponsored post, dude picked it up, called up, did an interview. So it was an article in the Wall Street Journal from a staff columnist about targeting journalists with Facebook ads. From a journalist we had been targeting with Facebook ads for content that was about targeting journalists with Facebook ads.
Yeah.
And it was a highlight of my career.
Oh, wow.
I went, that's so meta.
Yeah.
I can't believe it.
That is funny. And I think I might know the journalist you're referring to, but I'll ask you offline. So I want to make sure to get to some listener questions as well as some questions from somebody I work with that runs Facebook advertising. So let's circle a little bit slightly away from the SEO aspect of things. One thing from somebody that helps me with Facebook ads is he wants to know, how do you use multiple campaigns in unison to move prospects through their buyer's journey?
How do you use multiple campaigns in unison to move customers through their buyer's journey?
Yeah.
No different than you use any other content or distribution to move customers through the journey. It begins with an awareness of the phases as advised by data or intuition, and then making decisions about what kind of content, process, facilitation, human engagement, gift, stick, carrot can be used for that phase. So that's really a marketing question and not a Facebook question. And so far as the multiple campaigns to do it, it's also a marketing question. Is that contiguous? Is that consecutive? What's the latency? Do I have to go back? Like, so that's one thing to note. As mentioned, because AimClear has won 10 US search awards,
Yep.
I get to judge the EU and UK ones, which is the greatest privilege of my life. It's so cool. I'm so honored to see those case studies and work with such fine marketers to judge it. And I have noticed that over the last few years, there have been any number, like maybe a dozen, of unique and original you know how you go the evaluation phase, the next phase, like people title them, and there's some classic ones that in the branding conversion funnel that come from schools like Ogilvy or old school. And I have seen a really interesting proliferation of very creative 3 to 6 step systems where people have completely thought it out. And they made a grid for what type of content and then figured out how the data was going to work to retain state for those. And so it's the same marketing questions that happen as before the internet. Because remember, as in the buyer journey, the conversion journey, as in all digital marketing, Facebook is not a strategy. It's a channel.
Right.
And this is a strategy question. So go back to basics. Facebook might not even be the place you can get it done or one of the phases done. As a rule, I'd say Facebook is pretty cool right now, top of the funnel.
Ah, interesting. And I should say that the questions that I got from Joe, who I work with here, they are split into strategy and then more specific. That was one of the more strategy questions. So I didn't quite tee that up correctly. But
no, it's fine. We're good.
One other quick strategy question that he had, and then we'll get to some Facebook questions and Twitter questions. He also wanted to know, what's your ad strategy for low involvement purchase versus a high involvement purchase?
Well, for the low involvement ones, I spend as little time and money as possible and the high engagement ones, I spend as little time and money as possible. The answer is to give people what they need to buy your stuff. One thing, there's actually a technical marketing answer, all kidding aside. Facebook is an awesome channel for the high engagement stuff because you can do video views that last a long time for between 4 and 10 cents a video view and build an engagement retargeting list inside of Facebook. And that's really cool. In the old world of Facebook, that click to your website was what, $1.85? $1.65, $1.10, seldom below $1. So we're spending money to drive people to our websites to build out cookies and for AdWords or for Facebook retargeting, where I'm spending $1.50 for the first crack. And I know it's a high engagement product. Instead, I could spend 4 cents a video view, build a Facebook engagement retargeting list for everyone that viewed it. I'm 4 cents into it, then I retarget them and pay another 20 cents to show them something else. And then the third time they see it, I could make that an external facing unit for 60 cents. Now I spent 84 cents. They've seen it 3 times. I have fewer viewers, but they're very highly qualified. They come to my website, and that's a valuable cookie pool right there.
And what is a Facebook engagement retargeting audience? I think is what you said.
Well, first, it's a thing that people are afraid to use in Europe with GDPR. Facebook and YouTube have a really interesting feature called engagement retargeting. In Facebook, it makes a custom audience, and in YouTube, it makes an RLSA list.
What is
retargeting?
That?
It's a retargeting list for search ads.
Okay, yep.
It's a Google cookie, So that means that in Facebook, you can build a list inside of Facebook of anonymized users who saw your video. And so instead of having to spend $1.50 to send them out to your website, you can spend just a few cents or 8 cents or whatever it is. They sit and stare at it. Sometimes we don't even put a link to our website in it. We just don't even care.
You just want them to see the video.
We want them to see the video, and we want a list of the ones who watched it past a certain length.
Right.
Because you can filter Facebook engagement retargeting lists by how long people watched it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And then that next goes into, you target them then with a piece of content still within Facebook after that.
Anything you could do. Well, first I went 1 Facebook, 2 Facebook, 3, send them out.
Yeah.
That could be any amount or any order.
I see.
And each time you retarget them, it could be any kind of ad unit that Facebook will make, including something live on the wall or something that is dark.
Right. And each step you do that is the purpose of each step is more layers of filtering?
You can filter it. And if you're spending 50 grand a day, or you're spending 5 figures a day, then you might want to be filtering your engagement retargeting. Mm-hmm. For most brands out there, you'll just build a wide open list and work with that list. Mm-hmm. And there's built-in filtering for how long people watched it. So you could say, I'm only going to continue with the people who watched it for 18 seconds or whatever the number. There's presets in it. And you can filter it additionally by any Facebook targeting variable, meaning anything.
Right. I want to ask a question from Twitter now. Bill Scully, he's at Water Guy on Twitter. This is going to take a slight right turn here. He wants to know, how would a unique niche product like regiftthewrap.com with no money start advertising on Facebook? You're nodding your head. I think you might have seen this. I think they sell, I want to say, some kind of gift wrap made out of fabric.
Yeah, and the question is, how do you do it on Facebook without spending money, right?
Yeah, how would a unique niche product like regiftthewrap.com with no money start advertising on Facebook? So that's a bit of a contradiction. So maybe assume that there is some budget, I guess.
Well, I think I know, first of all, hello, Bill. Bill Scully is a dear, dear friend from many, many years. He taught me a lot about inbound marketing. Mm-hmm. And I tweeted out to him about this, and I was afraid it was a little glib because my answer was Facebook might not be the place to do it. I went, that's easy. Facebook might not be where you do it.
Yeah.
Here's what I would say to that. In terms of hardwired virality, to where you could put something on your Facebook company page and expect that even if it's freaking amazing, that it's going to get propagated all over, that's not necessarily real. However, you do get to a place where the concept is so incredibly amazing, or the story that you're telling that illustrates the concept, the human side of it, is just so good that pretty much anyone you put it in front of is going to open their mouth, gape. Like, there's been some things in the news media, like in the last few days, where I saw it, I looked at it, and I just went, oh my God. It was all I could think about for days and days. Like, I'm still just going, I just cannot even believe that I just saw that. Mm-hmm. And that happens in good ways too. Like, that happened to be a negative, but it happens in great ways too. It happens when someone from West Berlin, who's an old person, stays in an Airbnb on the other side of where the wall used to be, who was his captor, where it's so incredibly captivating that that somebody would really care to share it with somebody else. So for a service like that, it has to be really wicked compelling. It could be a stunt too, like blending a rake or an Old Spice person, or a hovercraft by Bubba Watson on a golf course by a sunglasses manufacturer. Like, you could get that kind of free jump in Facebook because you can get that kind of free jump anywhere, and it happens everywhere all at the same time, no matter where it starts, usually. So
you're saying the variable here has to be the creative. It has to be the content itself, and they literally would, if it's good enough, this would be something they'd post organically on their business page.
Yeah, if you have something that's that good, then you're not really worried about what tactic you're going to do to get that shit done in Facebook. Like, here's an example. Say I had Hodgkin's lymphoma 3B. It was a riot. It was 7 months of chemo and I almost died. Like, what about if somebody cured that, where just a couple of treatments, not too painful, like Star Trek, like you're done? Like, it kind of doesn't really matter where you post that, does it?
Right.
Like you'll have the world beating down your door after they see the article in American Medical Association journal, right? The AMA journal. And so there are channels where you have more of a virality effect. Like, for instance, Twitter, the kind of bots that multiple countries used during the 2016 election in Twitter that are hashtag farms. Look at any of the really intensive stuff on either the left or the right in politics and Twitter, and you'll see that there's a list of hashtags. Mm-hmm. If you get down and you study that, and if you study those hashtags, you'll see that a substantial percentage of the things that are rebroadcasting and friending are bots that are looking for that hashtag and criteria, like they're bot farms, right? But here's the thing. There's actually people that are interested in that stuff. And so if it's half bullshit, it means it's half not bullshit, and you can run massive bot networks on Twitter and draw people into it who don't care that it's bot, because it's just saying what they want to hear. And so that works for commercial products too. So what I would say to Bill is, if you want to do a programmatic viral jump that's predictable, then reverse engineer the automated hashtag universe on Twitter, and then start dumping your stuff into that with repetition, and that'll work just fine. Also, in the old days, I would have said, well, all you need to do is run your Facebook page for your company and amplify it to people who are going to write about your disruptive shit, and it'll work. But that targeting is not available so much in Facebook anymore, so that's not the channel we would do it in.
Are there channels that you can do that in? We spoke about this a while ago when you talked about targeting journalists and whatnot. Are there channels where you can target them?
Yeah. Twitter. First of all, get past whether you like to tweet or Facebook or link or whatever. Get past that, because these are socialized display networks.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? The organic stuff is nice, but for this tactic, that's not why. Certainly, if you're amplifying organic things that happen into influencers' faces, that's better, but you don't need to. Mm-hmm. You don't need to.
So when let's say you're doing a promoted tweet, and sorry to interrupt, maybe we're heading in the same direction. Do you use an account that has some level of influence or follower count, or how do you choose even what account to use?
We use the company account for whoever is promoting the material, and usually that has authority. Here's the thing about Twitter. Twitter lets you target individuals by Twitter handle in tailored audiences so long as there's more than 1,000. And everyone and their sister puts Twitter lists of every Huffington Post journalist. Go to you could get there's so many places. So what we do is we do massive scrapes of influential people of all different types, and then target. Why screw around with targeting when you can just target individuals?
So you can target it. So you're just saying you need 1,000 or more people, and you can target specifically those people on Twitter.
Yeah, you should come to it with about 3,000. Twitter filters it and takes out the ones it doesn't think will respond. This is a very powerful tactic for SEO. Let me tell you why. I don't think there's much difference between any of these disciplines in the way they work together.
Yeah.
But I will say, if you're an SEO head and that's what you're thinking, organic prominence in Google, how about this? There's a major Twitter chat in your space, hashtag whatever
SEO
chat.
Yeah.
Right, SEO chat. So you could make a list of everyone who engages in SEO chat, and then other things to make up your several thousand people. And then you're targeting people who are known to engage in that space. And so by dissembling vertical Twitter conventions like chats and other hashtags, and if you want to supercharge the Twitter bot universe, by those hashtags.
Wow. Okay. And then, so what do you actually Advertising at them. Are you advertising?
Actually, when I say by those hashtags, I don't mean hashtag targeting in Twitter. I mean scrape every Twitter user who engages a lot with that hashtag, and has and then filter, if it's a big number, filter it by authority in a pivot with how often they engage. So you're getting the most authoritative ones who engage the most, right? So reverse it. You can make a list of the biggest players, real and fake, in a bot network and do a pivot of authority and frequency. And then you can target that list of individuals with that hashtag shit, and you light it on fire.
Wow.
Like, and boomerang.
And to complete the steps, what are we targeting at them? And then what is the SEO result of this? Are you getting links, or what happens after that?
I do believe that you reach a confluence of causation in the SEO universe where if you're on the Today Show because of your shit, like, don't worry about your SEO.
Okay.
Right? And so that happens all the way down. That comes back to your question from before. How does social engagement matter to organic search? Unknown. It's like lighting off, like in an old time James Bond spy movie where it's counting down, and once it starts, you can't stop the missiles.
Yeah. So what are you running at them? Articles or like a piece of content you want them to see, or?
That ties back to whatever you and I decided with your person strategically about where we are in the cycle. It could be everything from incredibly inexpensive propagation for branding to link building, because there's a whole bunch of bloggers in that bucket.
So again, it's the creative and what you're using is the variable depending upon your goals.
Make a list of 5,000 of the most important publications and writers and bloggers in your world, and make those target individual Twitter lists and run your editorial calendar for your content to that, and that will help your SEO. Wow. You'll get PR KPIs. You'll get mentions, citations, links. People will call you up. We became a repetitive source for national All Things Considered on public radio, meeting people that way.
Wow. Okay, so I hope everyone out there listening tries some of these, and I'd love to hear of anybody that does try this and what your results are. Let's shift gears a little bit to agency. I had a couple questions people asking questions about agency. And Marty, I know we went a few minutes late because of the audio difficulties.
I'm good.
We're good?
I'm good.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
I appreciate you being a good sport with that. So Optimizing on Twitter, I'm sure you've seen him. He does some stuff in the UK. One of his first questions was, how did you scale? And I think picking that apart, I don't know if he means like, how did you choose your first hires, or, did you intentionally scale, or let's dive into that.
I know what the question means, since I lived through it. It's really a conundrum. I was just talking to one of the most successful Facebook people that's solo and is building an agency about this last night at Minnesota Search in the Twin Cities. And it's a real chicken or egg thing, because if you hire somebody, to scale, you can't spend a whole bunch of money because you're like hiring your first person. And if you ever want to see how inefficient hiring is, hire someone. Because instead of selling or doing or thinking or writing or other things, cleaning the office, you're training, and you're giving them your money. So you're not productive and you're giving them your money.
Yeah.
And so that's really frightening, and lots of businesses really never grow past that. The answer is that every person who's an effective sole proprietor has some part of their schedule that accounts for a disproportional quantity of their time doing one thing. It's where you have to look at 3,000 lines in a spreadsheet, but you can't sort it because you're looking for inexplicable aberrations. It's where there's discretion, and it takes brains, because there are no SEO secretaries. It takes brains of somebody who's And so, but you could train that person to do that one thing. They don't need to know anything else about SEO, nothing. You just teach them. So having the guts to teach someone a repetitive yet crucial task that requires little extra instincts. So you go, what's the intersection of what I do a lot of that I can easily train for and still spot check? And in my case, that was most everything that was organizational that I was not very good at. And so the first person I hired, I identified that. I spend a lot of time dealing with our vendors. I spend a lot of time setting up things. Yes, seeing if somebody's available, and it's killing me. Like, I'm at my cap for what I can earn. And that took like 30% of my schedule off. And so the tradition at Aim Clear in the early years, we're 11 years old. So in like the second year, each new person we kind of just handed a shoebox of shit to and said, "You're president. You run this now." And so there's about 5 people that still work at Aim Clear, where for a period of months, they were just totally, the secret to it is make other people your manager and train in narrow areas that are repetitive. And then you do another one. It's really important to know that if you want to hire people and scale your business, you do not need to offload everything you know. You will never scale your business if you do that. And if you do that, the next part of that is empowering your people. It was much easier for me to scale Aim Clear over the last period of years than it was for us to teach the advanced executives at our company how to duplicate themselves, which is why of all the accolades that our company has received, like the one that's the most humbling is the one where Manny Rivas, who's our CMO and a 10-year employee and a good friend in charge of all our marketing here, 2 years ago, Manny mentored someone who won Young Search Professional of the Year at the U.S. Search Awards, and I went, "Damn, I'm a grandpa. I'm a grandfather mentor." My mentee just helped build. And that's where it comes really satisfying, because if you get to the place where your staff is starting to make people's careers, that's really. That's so satisfying.
It must be fulfilling. The metaphor I think of is my dad is a sculptor. He owns a sculpture studio. He has somebody that does all the painting, just the patinas. They don't know how to make a mold. They don't know how to use clay. They don't know how to get a client. All they do is the finish. So that's kind of the model that I'm picturing. Everyone sort of had their specialty. I like that.
Yeah.
Optimizy also wants to know, speaking of awards, what's the ROI on awards? How do you know which ones are worth winning? Does it matter? Are there good awards and or bad awards?
Yeah, there are. Some of the awards are bullshit, and some of them are awesome. Okay. So first, I really respect the US Search Awards, the UK Search Awards, and the EU Search Awards, because I know the judging from the inside. And I believe the companies that win those awards are the best companies in the world. I believe that. There's other awards that I don't feel quite as strongly about. As a rule, a very high entry cost or an extremely high event cost is a warning sign. Where the people that are judging are all editorial people and not practitioners.
Right.
Or when the things that win awards are the Yay for Us squad.
Yep.
So far as the value of the awards, it's valuable even to win the dumb ones.
And what's the value? Do clients like it? What's the value there?
Well, first, you nailed it. What's most important about awards isn't just that you won some award. It's that you were able to serve a client at that level. You're able to serve a client at that level, and that's way more important. It's like one year we got best use of search in a social campaign for Airbnb, and I went, "Damn!" Or social in a search campaign, I went, "Damn!" And so it's really, really cool for the clients. Also, once you put that sort of thing in your LinkedIn profile, nobody could ever take away that we made Inc. 500 and then made the Inc. 5000 list for 5 years in a row.
Right.
What does that mean to me? It means that after Aim Clear, I'm an $800 an hour consultant.
Right.
It means that the keynotes cost like $10K plus to begin. Like it means that it's another chicken and egg thing, because it's not important that Aim Clear won the award. It's important that Aim Clear is who it is to win that award, and all that filling out the award entry is just, you'd be surprised. Like sometimes we look into the award season and we go, yeah, should we enter? But we can almost always find something really special about some corner of the marketing that we've done. I would say that normal stuff doesn't really win the most important awards. Like it has to be very exceptional. And the value part, millions. Wow. Millions and millions and millions. And it comes in tangible and intangible ways. Literally, we'll get a call and someone will say, I understand you've won Best Large Integrated Agency 2 years in a row at the US Search Awards and it's judge EU and UK. I go, I'm so humbled. I'm so humbled. And they'll send you, like, today we got a card in the mail from a client that we didn't call back right away because I was traveling. And it was just a nice card saying, please, when you have time, call. Other ways are more outbound. I'll say, hey, we're this. I'll say, hey, we're that. It's a credibility thing that someone else said. No matter what. Oh, here's the other thing. So there's Aim Clear is made up of beautiful individuals, and Megan and Manny and Kevin and Mary and amazing Alyssa and Daniel and Laura. We have amazing individuals, and they all work on it in different pieces, whether they're plumbing in the basement or whether they're out in front in the media. And so what does it mean to their confidence level as they create strategy to know that an amazing list of judges, like look at who the judges are. That's how you tell about the awards. Look and see who the judges are. Yeah. Because it's easy to make judges look cool, but oftentimes it's extremely narrow, really, really narrow. What does it mean, like, for Manny to know that he did like 3 case studies that won the agency award at the US Search Awards? Mm-hmm. Like, is he going to have that intangible confidence in a sales situation or in a strategy room? Yeah. Like, it's a 360-degree benefit that starts with money and ends with self-esteem.
I like that. Yeah, it feeds back into that. So Optimize also wanted to know, how do you balance running a company and doing the hands-on work yourself? Do you yearn to be more hands-on, or are you kind of growing to love being CEO? And I'm not even sure what your balance is of those two things.
Okay, so first, I'm founder and creative director. I gave up being CEO in the 4th year because I knew I was over my head as a business person. So that's one thing to say to begin the answer to that question. A very wise mentor, I went and visited with him. He was close to retirement. His name is Howard Klatsky, and he's retired now, and he had a beautiful agency here, which is still active under another name in Duluth, Minnesota. I went to lunch with him when Aim Clear was just me. It was February of 2007, and I asked him that question. I asked that very question, and he just looked really sad because Howard Klatsky may be the best account person in the history of advertising. He's just really a good account person. But you know what? He's also a hell of a writer and really creative and like very visual. Like Howard could be a creative director of an agency, and he just looked kind of sad, and he says, you're going to have to make a decision. You're going to have to make a decision. If you want to scale your agency, you're not going to get to be the person that does it all. And the biggest challenge you have is going to be to scale it into more people. So watch that along the way. And so I kept that in mind, and the challenge is scaling yourself into nodes of repetitive tasks while you build holistic employees who can handle many parts of it in a hybrid model at the same time as you don't compromise the creative fidelity of what you do. And remember, I'm a musician. Like, you can listen to my records compared to anyone's records and go, which one is awesome and which one is, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. The old adage is tapes don't lie. You put it at the same volume on the studio speakers and listen in comparison, and you just go, ooh. Ooh. So I know, and I trust my instincts about creative. And so it's always an interesting kind of ladder thing in steps where you scale the company and the quality goes down just a little bit. And then it catches up, and then you scale the company and the quality goes down just a little bit, and then it catches up, and then you lose a person and it goes down again. And so it's always a 2 steps forward, 1 step back process. And the question asked by Optimizely is the right question. Sadly, to scale a company, you either have to be that administrative piece or hire for it. And so that's why I ran AimClear as a CEO on musicians, blood, and guts.
Yeah.
It's what happens if you make the guy in the band who's not even the leader in charge of a fast-growing company.
Yeah.
And so in the 4th year, we made $2.2 million and made Inc. 500. And I just went, oh my God, I don't even understand our suite of insurance policies that our lawyer tells us we need. So I hired.
Yeah.
And so for me, I never was very good at the answer to that question. It was all instinctual and inefficient and all about the quality of creative.
Yeah.
And so I would say to Optimizely, rigorously assess your own administrative abilities or whether you could grow into that. If you could grow into it, read as much as you can. One really great resource for me was Good to Great by Jim Collins.
Oh, sure.
Good to Great. The real mojo for me was when I had cancer and I was kind of driving up and down the freeway between chemo sessions, I was listening to Good to Great going, what could I be best in the world at? What am I fanatically passionate? What's the intersection of fanatical passion, potentially best in the world ability in a small space, and mine was audience targeting, and profitability. Collins calls that your hedgehog, your thing, fanatical interest, serious talent, and profitable. And so if you're hedgehog, I know one person in London, he's one of the best content marketers in the world. He's arguably the best content marketer in the world, working for very major brands. And I just assumed that he was the creative one. I met him in London a few days ago, and I said, tell me more about the company, because I've seen his case studies from my judging chair. I just wanted to know. I wanted to know about it. And what he told me was that he's not really creative at all. He's an account man, and he's really great at relationships and knows something good when he sees it. And so he hires to complement with creative, which is the opposite of me, because I'm a creative and I need to hire logistics, which is that classic business question. What's more important or more valuable? Concepts or execution? Strategy or execution? Because some people say that strategy is rare and that you could buy execution, and other people say that great ideas are a dime a dozen, and that execution, and the answer is hire for your weaknesses immediately.
Yes. Wow. That's I see a lot of directions I could follow up with that, but I want to also respect the time on the clock here. So maybe in a year we'll have a chance to do a follow-up interview, as I do with some people. That'd be a lot of fun, Marty. But I do want to get to another Twitter question from Jeremy Rivera SEO. He says, please ask Marty, what are you most excited about in digital marketing right now, maybe beyond the psychographics? Is there stuff that you're excited about maybe coming up in the future, or anything in general that comes to mind?
Yeah. And hi, Jeremy. So first, psychographic targeting as we've known it, which is if you're selling a ski pass, you target people who like the ski area, live within 200 miles, travel a lot with their family, like skiing or boarding, and make $100,000 a year, and it's 30,000 people. That targeting is now 1.2 million people within 200 miles who like skiing or boarding.
Because it's gotten so big.
Because Facebook has over 500,000 data points on every user, and they can do it way better than we can now.
Yeah.
So if you're somebody who sits in a room and just does fancy Facebook targeting, you're done. Zoom out. to the root behavioral object. And I'm excited about that because if you combine that with the fact that top of funnel ads have gone down a couple $1,000% from $1.50 to $2 all the way down to like 1 cent to 10 cent, especially if you imprint with keywords, that's just great. Think like a television station in 1987. What did it mean in a 100,000 person DMA in 1992 to put a commercial twice on the evening news every night for 4 months? And the answer is anything you can think of. Unbelievable. And so with the deflation of ads cost top of funnel for video units that still have clickable buttons to your website, because it's 4 cents a video view, but if there's a really committed user, you'll pay $1 to $2 old school, only if they're super interested enough to get more information. If you combine the deflation of the cost of top of funnel for these beautiful units, ad units, with the regression of targeting that has occurred as a result of GDPR and the 2016 election, and you take note of the phenomena where saturation at top of funnel with keyword imprinted videos and active type, people just sit and watch it for a long time. That means that we're back to the future, and the ability to distribute doesn't, like, it's old school now. Like, this might as well be like 1978 right now for what's exciting about advertising. And if you get their permission, the consent zone in GDPR, and trust that these privacy limits will come to America soon in some form, this gets around the permission question because you'll just brand until people ask or not. Like, make it a household name with one sentence for them to remember. Where your brand and one sentence, and saturate your audiences with that, and nobody gives a shit, you're not going to sell anything.
Yeah, and this brings to mind, I mean, we talked a little bit earlier about the possible synergy between Facebook visibility and SEO. And another thing comes to mind is I had a couple clients early this year when all the Facebook algorithm stuff happened. They lost some search traffic around the same time period. And I don't know that anyone else has ever talked about this in the world of SEO, but I sort of went, I wonder if because I had a client that lost a lot of Facebook visibility, and their Facebook traffic looked the same as like those charts you see where how much traffic is Facebook sending. And so I went, I wonder if this has actually affected their SEO traffic as well. I don't know if you've seen things like that. Also,
I have. I think that there's a very strong possibility that's a red herring. Google is incredibly active, just incredibly active. And what Google and Facebook have in common is they'd rather sell it than give it. Like, raise your hand if you make so much money from SEO that you never have to buy AdWords. And the answer is nobody ever raises their hands. Because if you could make enough money to sustain your business in a comfortable way with no AdWords, you'd be the richest company in the world and not Google. So I think that if we just study the trend lines for both those channels, there's plenty to question that. Also, everyone has gone dark. I know there's some, I won't say it, but I'm thinking of one Facebook page. I'll tell you one. Go look at Mashable. They have like millions of Facebook followers, and sometimes they put things on their wall, and it'll be like 11 likes.
Right.
Like, it just doesn't matter that you have a bazillion Facebook fans anymore. I would say, though, you can study those fans still using Facebook Audience Insights and Facebook Ads UI. You could still dialing targeting segments and see how it depreciates the quantity of audience. And if you do have Facebook followers and your Facebook shit all went away, then take a minute and study your fans. And if there's any who matter to you, then continue to activate them with 4-cent videos that have keywords on them or direct response or anything. And even though I'm all gaga about branding right now, that doesn't mean we're not cutthroat guerrilla attributable conversion marketers. It's just that now we also run branding in the system programmatically, and then we just watch the cost of the performance marketing go down until all you have is SEO, and that's all you need.
Couple last quick questions, and then we're going to wrap things up. But I was curious, this is a little bit me. I also do some photography, and I think you might be responsible for some of the photos on AimClear. Is that correct?
Maybe on our Twitter profile or Facebook page recently, it's very possible, but I do lead a very active photographer life. I study photography with Matt Sidla, who's just an incredible photographer, and also Kevin Mullet. And for the last 2 years, I've been studying like timed exposure things, and I've learned really a lot. And so I've learned to photograph the Milky Way and headlight trails, and so I'm really serious about my photography. For my mental health, it's really important that I work on creative mastery in areas that I don't earn my living with, and so photography is my joy.
I saw some of the headlight trails photos. They were beautiful, by the way, and I've been trying some time photos myself. They're a lot of fun. They take patience, but they're a lot of fun. Just sit there and wait 20 seconds, you know.
sometime when I'm in the East Coast, let's go shoot headlight trails from the Tobin Bridge or something.
Oh yeah, let's do it. I've been really into that. I would love to do that. Cool. Last question. I think maybe Jonathan Hochman, who maybe you know as well,
I do.
Friends with Bill Scully. And I think he might be leading this question here a little bit, but he wants to know, what's the greatest challenge in your life and how did it affect you?
The greatest challenge in my life. The greatest challenge in my life has been mental illness, because I'm the person who didn't hang themselves in their hotel room, then studied rigorously for decades. A few years ago, I took a couple years off to work half-time or a third time, got a place to live in the Twin Cities and went hard at it with training. And I believe that I've attained lifelong happiness that's pervasive. And I suffer very little, and I'm really happy, and it's not tied. I'm so happy. Like, I'm just so happy, and as happy and effusive and effervescent as I can be in my joy. There have been a dozen times in my life where for weeks at a time, I just laid on the floor, literally. Like sometimes, so I thought that I was going to wait to come out about that until after I didn't work professionally anymore. And I've come to the conclusion that that doesn't really even matter compared to the importance of discussing mental health and mental health in the workplace. So the greatest, and I think that he was probably thinking maybe that answer was going to be cancer. But I've had cancer 3 times, and I've had something that was really scary and on the edge another time. And each of the most important times where I was sick like that, I can trace it to a similar latency. I can't prove causation, but I can prove correlation of it. And I think that most people would agree in the clinical world that it's very bad for you physically to suffer. And so if he was leading me towards the cancer question, then that wasn't nearly as challenging as what led to cancer. I would also say a divorce with children was very, very, very challenging for me. And so I know that's probably a little heavier than what you would expect me to drop, and I wouldn't probably have raised that, but I'm one of those really emotional people that was subject to really severe invalidation when I was young and came out with a disorder or two. And I believe that I've rewired through a combination of cognitive work and Eastern thinking.
That's great. No, I think it's important because I know myself and a lot of people, especially if we work remote or I often find just sort of this sedentary work life, can can spark all of these things, feelings of doubt, feelings like you're not being productive, maybe the imposter syndrome, all of those things. And I think, and I'm grateful that you and other people do talk about it because I think it's important for others that experience similar things to know that it's common. And maybe we can end with something. You mentioned a few things, you hinted at a few things that may have helped this for you, Eastern things. And I'm wondering if there's one or two little tips you can leave myself and the listeners if we ever hit moments like that, whether mild or severe, that we can think about doing.
So what I did was called dialectical behavior therapy, DBT. It's common for people that have borderline personality disorder, but other disorders too. It's very mainstream now, and it focuses on training for mindfulness, like an awareness of where we are. Like, I'm in this place, like I'm so with you right now. I'm really I'm not thinking about anything else. I'm just with you.
Yep.
Then interpersonal effectiveness techniques, where things like validating or knowing the level at which to say no or to ask against levels of resistance, interpersonal effectiveness skills, and then understanding that difficult emotions are guaranteed. It's being human. And so learning to make sure that the emotions that we have fit what is actually happening. And if you feel the right emotion, but you feel too much of it, that's the same as having the wrong emotion. And then other techniques of emotional regulation. And then for when in people like me, emotional regulation moves to where I'm just not in control, and I could damage my relationships or my own psyche. And in some people themselves, become self-destructive. I know distress tolerance techniques that work really well where I go, stop, I'm done. And and then the biggest secret of all is to understand that pain is inevitable. Suffering is pain without acceptance. So accepting reality, accepting the pain and making sure it's the right level against what's actually happening, and then knowing to check out. It turns out the secret of life is expecting to have hard emotions and taking it at the appropriate level.
Right. It's expectations. It's that contrast between what you expect and then how things actually happen. Yeah, I think that's great. And one little thing I'll throw in for me, and I certainly don't experience things on this scale, but getting out there and exercising and being physical
yes. One of the greatest distress tolerance tactics is rigorous physical exercise. And so I get my 12 to 14,000 steps a day, and I get my 20 flights a day, and I just do, because I know that my emotional life depends on it. That's a major piece. Here's another one too. If you're ever completely flipped out, there's data that says that if you put your face in ice water, it undoes if you're ever in that place where your mind is just completely blown and you need something to do because you're gonna destroy something, put your face in ice water for about 10 seconds and make a little Buddhist half smile. I've done that. I've done that. I suffer. I rarely suffer. I'm really happy. It's so cool.
Yeah.
And I don't think you're going to read about me in some hotel room. I don't think so.
Well, that's great. I'm glad to hear it. And Marty, why don't we wrap up by tell people where they can find you online and also out there in the real world if you're going to be at any conferences or events or anything like that.
Okay, so upcoming conferences are a small one in Dallas called Rocks Digital that I'm pleased to support. State of Search in Dallas, and yes, my younger daughter did just move to Dallas.
Oh wow!
I'm speaking in Oklahoma City at Confluence, doing a half-day workshop with Susan Wenograd at PubCon, and speaking on a panel or two at PubCon. I'll be at SEO Oktoberfest in Munich and the UK Search Awards. So far as reaching me, just email me, marty@aimclear.com. Just email me if you like, marty@aimclear.com. I have a weekly column in Inc. magazine, INC, period. So check out my Inc. column. And then, of course, aimclear.com and aimclearblog.com, which is actually, it's so funny. In the beginning, I didn't know. I just thought you had to make 2 domains, and then we wired them together in kind of a smart way. But so there's actually 2 URLs. So funny. Anyway, so I would really enjoy. Oh, also connect with me on Facebook. I use Facebook for my, if it's on Facebook, it's business or personal branding. And LinkedIn as well, and Twitter. I'm active in LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. And feel free to email me.
Awesome. Well, Marty, thank you so much for spending so much time with us and delivering such really great information. And definitely be sure to say hi to Marty out there online. And we'll see everyone next time on Experts on the Wire.